So, welcome back, everyone. So, we are back with yet another episode of our The Total Fussball. And this time we thought of, having someone from outside the league, although he's a big time football lover and he follows Bundesliga like anything. So, he's one of the founders and co-host of Calcio Chacha. So, we thought of bringing Param in. Welcome, Param. How are you, bro?
थैंक्स फॉर हैविंग मी यार प्रत्युष ग्लैड टू सी कि फाइनली आप लोगों ने ये चैनल चालू किया है मतलब गुड टू सी सम बुंडेसलीगा रिप्रेजेंटेशन बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली जर्मन फुटबॉल पे अगर हम देखें तो ज्यादा चैनल्स है नहीं वेरी ग्लैड टू बी हियर एज पार्ट ऑफ कैल्चियो चर्चा ऑब्वियसली बिग फैन ऑफ द बुंडेसलीगा माई सेल्फ अगेन जस्ट टू गिव अ बिट ऑफ एन इंट्रो मेरा नाम परम है और मैं एक इंटरिस्टा हूँ आई एम एन इंटरिस्टा सॉरी एंड आई एम पार्ट ऑफ कैल्चियो चर्चा वन ऑफ मेनी मेंबर्स ऑब्वियसली of Calcio Churcha. We cover Italian football on a daily basis, and we try to do our best. And we always are. We always support anybody who tries to, do their own content creation thing, especially with regards to different leagues. So glad to see this has started, and glad to be a part of this. As you know, as you said it very well, I try to follow football on a global scale as much as possible because I love the sport. Simple as that. I've been watching a lot of German football here and there, and obviously here we are yet again, Pratyush, in a very exciting German football season. Obviously, I'm sure you are very happy with the recent win over Leipzig and Bayern being on top of the Bundesliga. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot to talk about. And yeah, thanks for having me on the channel once again here.
Yeah. So let's straight away get into the business.
Yeah,
So first up, we'll talk about our rivals, Borussia Dortmund, one of
yeah,
your favorite club. Sarcastically. So
yeah,
they were up against St. Pauli. The
yeah,
reverse fixture was 3-3.
yeah, 3-3.
And this also nearly finished in the same
Three,
fashion a draw until
yeah,
and that Emre Can penalty and he did bury that like
correct.
very professionally.
Yeah, late penalty, yeah, 96th minute if I'm not
90
wrong.
plus 6. Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I watched the game and जैसे you said right, like it did feel like a 3-3 पे जाएगा because like Saint Pauli, I think it's. I mean, is it surprising that they're last? I don't think so.
No, no, it is not.
Dortmund,
Absolutely not.
yeah, it's not. But Dortmund, on the other hand, what I've kind of been liking about what Kovac is doing is this season, the shift he has made, right? He's trying to be as defense first minded as possible. Obviously, that doesn't mean they're getting clean sheets left, right, center. But this is a very atypical Dortmund. This is not the
Yep.
they'll score goals. See, what I'm trying to say is that this is a different Dortmund in terms of how they approach the game, with what mindset they approach it first. But they'll still concede. The strength is that they're trying to kind of reduce the damage limitation, and it's working. Because while, as you said, like if we see the table, yes, they're still far behind Bayern Munich. If I'm not wrong, it is a total of currently 11 points, right,
11
as of
points. Yeah,
as of
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, but right now sitting second is also not an easy job, obviously. And again, we'll discuss the game in depth as you give your views. I feel I watched this game, and I really like what Adeyemi did here personally. Like again, I've been a very big doubter of Adeyemi personally. Like uh,
His character, his off-field disciplinary issue, all those things
yeah,
have been playing around. So it's no doubt.
yeah,
But the thing is, so Kovac has been really, crying about buying their transfer window and all those things. But
yeah,
some a very interesting,
mm,
stat has come up
mm,
that Dortmund has dropped 11 points
yeah,
from the position where they were leading the game.
mm,
And if that would not have happened, so let's around 10 points, I would say. So they would
mm,
have been just equal to us or 1 point lesser than us. So that
absolutely,
makes it, ironical that it's the same Dortmund issue, the mentality issue of
yeah,
seeing of the
mentality,
games. So I mean, yesterday also, I mean, they were like 2-0 up, a comfortable game, and out of a sudden, here they go 2-2.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then they
totally,
were finding it so hard to get into the game and trying. And at the end, they got lucky, to be honest. It was a stupid
yeah,
foul by St. Pauli. Otherwise, it was again a draw from a winning
yeah,
position. So
yeah,
there is, I mean, uh, but about Niko Kovac, his personality has been a defensive
mm,
coach only.
mm,
But yeah, like you said, Dortmund has not been a team who plays defense first. They always go for the attack. That
yeah,
has been their symbol of,
yeah,
that's how the
yeah,
European clubs know Dortmund that they will come out
exactly.
attacking.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
and as you said, I feel they, like as you said, they were 2-0 up. We need to remember that, and they really made life difficult for themselves. Like they had more opportunities to make it like 4-0, even 5-0. You can say that.
yep, yep, yep,
But
yep.
again, like I think the XG was over 3 as well, if I'm not wrong, the whole game. So very, I mean, this is typical Dortmund, right? Like you get chances on a platter, you fumble them, and then the game becomes complicated. And I think it's fair to say that they rode their luck. Like they really did. I mean, Saint Pauli bounced back very well,
Yep,
and
yep. Yesterday, after second goal, they were completely over them.
yeah, exactly. And if I'm not wrong, the this guy, right? क्या बोलते हैं अपना Eric Smith, the Swedish midfielder
Yeah,
of
he gave two assists from that
yeah,
ball.
he really woke up in that post the tunnel. Like I saw the
Yep.
performance, I was like, what the hell? Like it really felt like Saint Pauli was going to turn a new leaf, but then obviously the quality difference. I think what I've noticed in my time watching the Bundesliga is that the quality difference, like it's like when I watch the AFCON as a separate tournament, just drawing some parallels, like the better quality teams tend to kind of usually hold their own in a scrappy game, and that just I just was hoping St. Pauli would get something, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So yeah,
Yeah, that, I
but
mean, like you said, if we start from the beginning,
mm,
Julian Brandt had an open goal to
yeah,
score,
yeah, exactly,
but
yeah,
that goal line clearance in 12th minute, denied them. How can you
yeah,
miss that goal? And after that,
yeah,
the next big chance, which they created, they were dominating the ball, but they were not creating a full, zero point
mm,
0.7 xg chances. And then
absolutely,
Adeyemi was running right, no doubt about that, and
yeah,
he got an assist, he got a goal, so that sums up his performance. But
yeah,
again, uh, that killer mentality, the killer instinct that
not
Dortmund
there,
has been missing, it has been a
not
problem for them.
yeah,
Uh,
not there. I agree, and also at times, like maybe some, I don't know, maybe some Dortmund fans will not agree with me on this, but I still have doubts over that midfield, like Namecha and Bellingham. Like I'm not a big fan of Joe Bellingham. Like I'll be
Joe
very
Bellingham is riding his brother's name, to be honest. I mean,
yeah.
he
Like he I remember he's had like a very average season, and obviously we've seen various reports or not. But even Felix Namecha, like I think obviously he's done better than Joe Bellingham, but I'm not like a big fan of that pairing. Like it just, as you said, it doesn't sit like for what Kovac is trying to do. It just doesn't make sense to me personally, at least. Just putting it
No, no,
out
no,
there.
I
That
agree. But Namecha is still, I
yeah,
mean, he's a mid. I mean, he is not an elite player for sure. I
yeah,
completely agree. But the thing with Namecha he has been that he provides an impetus. He's a
mm,
constant runner around the box.
yeah,
That's where he creates the havoc among the defenses, and that's what his goal contribution, either
correct,
assist or
correct,
goals. It
correct.
has been there. But Joe
Fair.
Bellingham has been utter utterly poor, to be honest. I don't want
Yeah,
to
and,
use
and
any
obviously,
worse word, but
obviously,
yeah,
obviously, we can say they did miss Sabitzer yesterday, because Sabitzer is still very, obviously, very useful for them. And
correct, correct.
even even just one last thing, I think I'm not a big, again, I still feel Anselmino has a lot to prove, but he was having a decent time before he was injured. Anselmino, like he
Yeah,
was
yeah, he
not
was
bad.
having actually a good time. He was actually
Yeah,
having
yeah, exactly.
he was having actually a good phase. Then there were talks. He's from Chelsea only, right? He's a Chelsea only. So
Yes,
there were
yes,
talks. They were planning to bring him back in January itself because Dortmund were putting words that we want
yeah.
to buy you, we want to keep you here, and there were rumors popping up around December that we'll take him back. Then he got injured. So, but then those rumors died down with his injury.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it was an exciting game here overall. Definitely,
Yeah,
like typical Bundesliga entertaining game. Like
yep.
definitely, like something fun to watch for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, I mean, Dortmund, just on the final note, Dortmund could have been a lot more closer to us in the league at this
Hmm.
point of time,
I
had they
agree.
had that ability to see of the games. Just to
Yeah,
draw that parallel, you might remember Juve versus Dortmund game. It was
yeah,
all Dortmund. They could have scored literally 10 goals. So with all due respect, they could have got 10 goals in that game, the
yes.
way they were playing. In the end, what happened? A 4-4 draw.
Typical. Yeah,
It's
typical.
been a problem for them, to be honest. I think that is
Absolutely.
where Kovac should be looking into, rather than commenting on. Bayern Munich, what we do and
Yeah,
what we not
yeah.
do.
You have to look at your own club here. You have to focus on your own club.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so now moving to next game, a coach sacked after the draw, a
Yeah.
3-3 draw, Bremen versus Frankfurt. Donny
Mm.
Topmeller gone. So
Yeah.
let's take your first thoughts on the sacking.
Yeah. I mean, we discussed this before here. Like January 18th, he got sacked. I mean, I'm not surprised. Like, I'm not a big fan of sacking managers early. I'm very old school. Personally, I'm like, I think we've both of us have watched football for a long, long time, and I come from this old school thought that you can't sack somebody like kind of halfway through. But then again, I think this was coming because, yeah, that team had no balance, Pratyush. Like it's really bad. You've seen their matches. Ye to 3-3. This was the 3-3, right? But as you said, if we go before also 3-2 lost to Stuttgart, 3-3 against Dortmund, if I'm not
Dortmund.
wrong. Then that 6-0 against Leipzig, my God, that's just embarrassing. I'm sure, like as a Bayern fan, it must be feeling weird. Like you thrashed Leipzig, and it's the same like Leipzig that destroyed Eintracht Frankfurt. Then they lost. If I remember, Atalanta beat them 3-0 as
In,
well in the
in
Champions League.
yeah,
So
in Champions League, yep.
exactly. So there is like we know that Eintracht Frankfurt will always have like a good attack. You still have Kali Muinga doing a decent job there. Yes, I know they lost players, whatnot, but like how can you have such a bad balance when you have a player like Elias Kiri in midfield? Okay, Dahoud is an all right player, but still you can't be so bad that you can't find a balance. Like it, I've not understood like how. Like
No, last
it's not.
season they did pretty well with Tottenham. So there were talks that he has literally done well and brought them
Yeah,
to Champions League places, and they were doing pretty decent to be honest. I
yeah,
know they had Ekitike and all those
yeah.
players, no, and Ekitike has been doing
Mm,
brilliantly at Liverpool as well. But this
mm,
season as well, they have got the players, they have got the chunk. But
mm.
again, I don't know. I mean, like you called out earlier, their mid compactness is not there, and
Not at all.
and they just shut off at times in the defense.
Yeah, it's
They
very
just
bad.
become too pedestrian, and they just let the ball pass by them, and
Yeah, yeah.
they gave off some very easy chances.
Yeah, and also I feel it is also some of the quality with like in the defense. Like I just feel they don't have the tools to kind of keep it up because Top Mauler obviously insisted on playing this vertical game. मेरे को खेल like I want to play that way. Like and we know there are some coaches like that exist in the world. Like but you have to understand your own limitations also. Like it does lead to like as you said, they look clueless at times. Like once we are deep into the game, they look clueless. The concentration lapse sets in, and that's not just random. It's also because of fatigue, because they do not have that defense to kind of keep it up. And especially when you're playing back to back against, if you see their fixture list, we just saw it, Frankfurt, Dortmund. You have to manage this schedule properly, and I think that's where he got it wrong. You can't, like, I'm sorry, you can't play Dortmund and Stuttgart back to back the same way. Then you played Augsburg, chalo, you won, but you had Barca before that, you had Leipzig before Barca. You can't. You have to kind of balance things out, and I think
Yep.
that's where Top Muller kind of messed it up in a way.
You saw right yesterday when they took the early lead, and
Mm.
then Bremen was all over them. They were having their odd
Yeah,
chances for
yeah,
sure. The Frankfurt
yeah,
were having their odd chances for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and but the problem is then they took the lead as well. And with Collins, the first time shot he took
yeah, yeah,
in the near post, and he
yeah,
hit very well there. And
yeah.
after that, when Bremen scored one, they scored the other one within the next 1 minute.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
what they showed. Man. They were completely shut off. They didn't know
Yeah,
what to do. What
yeah,
is next coming?
and this game, as you said, like they were losing. Like it needed Ansgarnov's 94th minute equalizer. Obviously, I mean they they were about to lose regardless. So, I mean, I don't know. Like this is not like, I mean, I'm not surprised that Frankfurt are conceding goals because we're used to seeing them do that. But the problem here is the attack they're known for is not like, their efforts are not getting backed up by the rest of the team, and that's a shame because you expect them to do slightly better. Like at this stage they sit seventh, right? And I think the season is going to get worse for them. Like I'm not positive about this
Yeah,
season.
yep. European places look very tough for them. If you
Yeah,
look at the competition around them,
Yeah,
So the competition looks very tight at the moment, to be honest. Uh,
absolutely.
the,
And
the the only thing, I mean, they might still qualify for the Conference League. They are seventh, like you said,
yeah,
because the teams below them have been even more poorer in that way.
yes, that's true.
That's the
That's exactly.
only that's
Yeah,
the only positive for
and
them. And they have a 3 point
yeah,
lead over Freiburg.
yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, the teams above them, the only team which I can see dropping points is Leverkusen. Apart from that, the top five looks kind of fixed. There might be a position exchange between the teams, but
Hmm.
the top five looks sealed, to be honest, at the moment.
Absolutely. And look, I understand Eintracht Frankfurt, if I'm not wrong, they do have a few injuries as well. Look, like obviously Jonathan Burkhardt wasn't there, and that's a big miss. That's a top
He's a
scorer,
big
and
miss. Yep, yep, he is.
Burkhardt obviously was having a great season before Frankfurt as well. Like, look, I know Godza also is in a way a leader over there, and he also kind of gets missed. But if you look at that centre back pairing of Collins and your this guy, क्या बोलते हैं इसका नाम, Koch, right? Obviously, Robin Koch.
He has he's a one of the worst defenders I
Exactly.
have
So
ever
was
seen.
exactly what I was coming to. You see that defense pairing, right? Do you really think it will work? Because I say no. It's a very there is none of these two center backs is very proactive or someone who will take the charge. Like they're not like, yeah, I can win an aerial duel, I can play as a stopper back. No, they're both very passive. They're both very loose, if you get what I mean. And how do you then expect a vertical game to work when your defense can't back your midfield or cannot back your fullbacks? There will be gaps. So
Eh,
just be ready for Frankfurt to concede more goals in the coming games. It's not a surprise yet.
No, absolutely. And secondly, I have been surprised with Uzon as well. He
Yeah,
started the season very well. I
yeah,
mean, there were talks about him being the next player, the next
mm.
talent coming out of Bundesliga, which we keep on
Yes,
producing some player
uh,
every season. But then he also has kind of faded with time, to be honest. I
yeah,
mean, he has not been managed properly or something
yeah,
or other thing, like he had a foot injury in the Stuttgart
yeah.
game. He didn't play, and he's having few muscle injuries, so
Mm.
which have, I think, broken down his rhythm, and that really has not helped them.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't, as I think, as we close this, I feel Frankfurt. I'm not too sure they're going to have a good season
From
in
here.
the remainder half. Yeah, I'm not a, I am not confident about their
Yeah,
chances.
yeah. So now let's talk about Christian Eriksen's current club,
Oh
Wolfsburg
yeah,
and Heidenheim.
yeah.
So
I mean, Eriksen brings back memories because obviously he was a former Inter player, and I
exactly.
really wish. Exactly. Like I know it ended in a 1-1, obviously Heidenheim ke sath, and I think if I so I didn't watch this full game. I did catch glimpses, and I read like a match report, couple of match reports, and saw some extended highlights. But from what I hear, I mean, you can tell me better on this game that again Wolfsburg were really like, I mean, they tried to create a lot of chances, but Heidenheim had really locked them down. Like, if I'm not wrong, like they defended really well. Like, you can tell me more about this game than probably
Yeah,
I can.
Heidenheim basically, like these guys, what to say, Wolfsburg, they
Mm,
had the ball, they were
mm,
trying to create, but Heidenheim did not, let them have the big chances.
mm,
So it was like, their defense, they were
mm,
very compact in there. And with
mm.
all the ball which I think Wolfsburg had some around 70% of the ball possession,
Oh,
but
okay.
their XG was under one. So which means they
Oh,
just had a one good chance or two half good chances, which
mm,
again troubled them.
yeah,
But in the end, Christian Eriksen did assisted uh, uh, Jens for the goal, which
yeah,
equalized the game for them. Otherwise,
yeah.
they would have, with all the ball, they would have ended up losing the game.
Yeah, yeah. No, I again from what I read, like obviously while Heidenheim obviously sit in the bottom half, and I know they've conceded a lot of goals. But generally from what I've been following, also they're not very easy to break down. Like they make life very hard in that game. But once you break them down, once you score against them, then it kind of flows. But they're very tough to initially break down Frank Schmidt's team, and I guess that is what Wolfsburg faced until Eriksen got that assist and whatnot. I again, as from what the highlights I caught, extended highlights and whatnot. As you as From again from what I read as well, I think Arnold was having a decent game, but I don't think there was any really standout per se from Wolfsburg. If I had to pick a standout, I mean,
Yeah, no,
apart
no,
from
it was kind of a very snooze fest type of game. I mean,
okay,
they were trying to keep the ball, rotate the ball, recycling the ball, but it was in the end hitting the wall of Heidenheim. They were not
hmm.
coming up with any chances. So it just had that one moment where luckily they caught that moment and they scored the equalizer. Otherwise, they could have ended up losing. And especially them being they were fighting a battle in the relegation as well. Although now they have pulled clear to 12th place that I am seeing right now with 19
Yeah,
points. But they
yeah,
were in that relegation zone as well,
yes,
couple of
Wolfsburg,
matches back.
yeah, yeah. It's
They were
crazy
stuck.
to see. It's crazy to see someone like a Wolfsburg also these days. Not and obviously you guys played them and absolutely destroyed them few weeks ago. Obviously that was another thing as well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it was just last week only. But even
yeah,
that game, they were very physical. They were very tough to break. They were having their chances as well in that game as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Interesting,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. So,
But
but
yeah, again, I think we are looking at a very mid-table. Or this, I think this is like this zone is where Wolfsburg will end up within their season because there has again been a very big drop off here to your usual
yeah, yeah,
Wolfsburg.
yep, yep, yep. I
This is
think they
not.
have now as kind of escaped that relegation thing. They
Hmm,
might win the enough points to keep them in the league, but yeah, I don't see them going up any higher. Or but on
absolutely.
the contrary, Heidenheim are in the playoff spot for the
Yeah,
relegation,
yeah.
where they want to stay at least, because the bottom half looks very tight. So
Hmm,
Augsburg at 16, Heidenheim 13, Mainz 12, and St. Pauli 12 as well. So there is
hmm.
nothing to differentiate between the bottom three teams.
Wow, insane,
Just
insane.
yeah,
Very. I like a good relegation battle. Also, it's not just about. I
it's a
always love
very
a good.
passionate battle as well.
Yeah, exactly, definitely.
So
But
So let's move to our next game, Hoffenheim versus Leverkusen. So I was discussing with one of my mates here, so pro, in our
hmm,
last match day review. Hoffenheim
hmm.
have been a surprise package of this season. Like they
Yeah,
always
yeah,
keep
yeah.
on doing something, which keeps and brings all the eyes on them.
Yeah, I remember back in few years ago when they qualified for the Champions League. Obviously, that time they had Firmino and all those guys. That time they were a really convincing team. I think this time, obviously they're benefiting a bit from the other teams not being up to par. That is there, but then I don't blame them because they're taking their chance. Like it's good to see Oliver Baumann still be there. I mean, he's been there forever. Like he's just been there, but
He has been a
he's
rock
still
for
good.
them.
Sorry.
He has been a rock for them.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm a big fan of Fiznik Aslani. Like we used to have our own Aslani, Christian Aslani at
Yeah,
Inter. Like
you also had him. Yep, yep,
he's
yep.
at Torino currently, he's frozen out of the squad and whatever. But Fiznik Aslani, like Kosovan player, very very good talent. I really like how he plays. Like he's like, the threat in behind the striker he offers, like with his, and he's not just that creator he is. He's not just like a regular playmaker. He will be very direct in his either like he offers like the complete package in that sense. Like he has that eye for goal. He will also create properly. So I'm very intrigued by that talent, and I feel definitely for a 23-year-old, he's doing a fantastic job for Hoffenheim. Like yesterday,
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
he had a very obviously yesterday against Leverkusen, he did not have the greatest of games, but you're looking at a 23-year-old talent who's doing really well. So good to see. But I think when you come to the game, that free kick goal, yeah, like,
It was
uh,
stunning, man. I was about to come there.
yeah,
But what a beautiful from that angle he curled over the goalkeeper. It was beautiful.
yeah, fantastic.
And
That's I love a good free kick goal. That's all I can say. And
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and are we surprised that Leverkusen lost? I mean, I don't think so. I'm surprised
I
anymore.
mean, that's have been, I was being very critical of them, in the last match day review.
Hmm.
When you have such a big backing from a huge pharmaceutical company, it's not like you are a
Yeah.
fan funded, absolutely fan funded club. You don't have any backing, and you
Hmm.
still don't try to keep up big players, and then
Hmm.
you are to blame for yourself. Even Hoffenheim, for that matter, SAP
Yeah.
has been behind them. So
Hmm.
even they need to keep. I mean, Leipzig, Leverkusen, Stuttgart,
Hmm.
and Hoffenheim. These
Hmm.
four clubs have all the money might with
Hmm.
which they can become a big contenders in Europe
Yeah,
and
yeah,
in
yeah,
Bundesliga, to be honest.
yeah, yeah.
But again, they just choose not to just keep the cycle, get
Exactly.
the money out of the player. I was reading yesterday. Yeah, I'll come to that later on Leipzig's sporting director. Let's talk about this game first. I
Hmm.
was so pissed at that statement,
Hmm.
the statement which he gave on Diamonde. But let's cover this game first. So, again, this game was very cagey affair, 1-0.
Hmm.
But Hoffenheim had their chances to kill the game, to be honest. But they fluffed their line. But in the end, they got lucky and they came out with a 1-0 victory.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe it sums up both teams' season because we've seen Leverkusen like under Xabi Alonso. Obviously, they used to have a bit of momentum and luck on their side, and this is not nothing bad because every club in the world at some point has luck on their side. It's
Correct.
part and parcel of the game. Now we are seeing a different side of Leverkusen where that is not there with them. Like in reality, is kind of hitting hard. Like its fortunes have turned where and in this game you saw, and generally in this season, Hoffenheim has had that. Like you scoring like it just they've been hanging on to moments, and it's good to see someone like Vladimir Sufal who running back the years. Like after his West Ham spell, everybody thought that the years
He's
are
done
behind him.
his
He's
yeah,
done
yeah, yeah.
exactly like, and rightly so because he was struggling. But it's good to see him run back the years because he's been a very consistent performer this season for Hoffenheim, and I think if I'm not wrong, he's the top assist provider also for Hoffenheim. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
Hoffenheim, if I just add in a couple of stats, what is good to see is kind of how balanced they are. Because if I'm not wrong, in terms of goals conceded per game or something, that's the third best. So the third least goals conceded, obviously after Bayern and Dortmund, and also in the goals scored per match, they're just third behind Bayern and Eintracht Frankfurt. So
yeah.
there is that sense of balance within the team, and you can see it in how they play also. Like they really kind of try to they're not like what we discussed about Frankfurt, right? Like
Frankfurt,
they're
yep,
not
yep,
just
yep.
blindly vertical. Like we need to they read the moments well. That's what I expect someone like a Frankfurt to do instead of just blindly trying to play one approach. Again, that's their choice, but I really
Yeah, yeah,
appreciate what Hoffenheim are trying to do. Look, they simply know that look, these are the resources we have. Simple. We have a decent team that can compete. Others are falling off. So let's not try to overdo it ourselves. Let's
overdo
try
it,
to
yep.
have, yeah, exactly. Let's have a balanced approach with the we have a veteran like Bauman, we have a veteran like Sufal, we have a young talent like Fisnik Aslani. So let's make it count instead of burning these guys out, and let's try to sit in the top half of the table when
And
others are. Sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 and I was just about to add, and they have a Bundesliga legend in Kramaric as well.
Kramaric, exactly. See, so that's the point. Like what they're doing is they're identifying the resources well, which I feel
Yep,
other teams there are limitations, as you said. That there are some clubs like Hoffenheim themselves. They have the money, but some of these clubs I don't like the decision making when it comes to how they manage the squad and how they try to play.
correct.
Which is what Hoffenheim are trying to do, and kudos to Ilzer, like guys managing so far so well. So let's see where this goes.
Yep, yep, yep. So now quickly jumping to our next game,
Uh,
Hamburg versus Gladbach. It ended in a 0-0 draw. So I mean,
rare nil is a rare thing for Bundesliga
in the
games.
Bundesliga, right?
Yeah, it's very
I
rare.
was
I
about
think
to
this
say
game
that.
had a lot of chances also, yeah. And so that's why it's a bit rare key this ended in a nil-nil in the first place, if
I
I'm not
couldn't
wrong.
watch the game, to be honest, so I just tried to read the match report and glimpse of on
So yeah,
the
yeah. I
so
also mainly read about this game and saw extended highlights. But yeah, you tell me like if you it was
yeah.
if
So
there any.
basically, Gladbach had their chances, especially
Hmm.
in 28th minute. What I read, Honorat had a big chance. He should have
Hold
buried
on.
the chance.
Yeah.
And after if I remember correctly, the Hamburg had their only target on the goal in second minute. After that, they literally didn't have too much going forward.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Gladbach had their chances, they missed it, and
Hmm.
then at the death, William Michael Branches he put the ball in net, but it was ruled offside, and the
Hmm.
game ended 0-0, and Hamburg stay in the relegation battle with their arch rivals Saint Pauli.
That look between the two clubs, I like Saint Pauli more. I have my reasons of not being a big Hamburg. Like I'm not the biggest Hamburg fan. You know this. But coming back to the point, leaving my bias aside, I read and I saw Moritz put in a Moritz put in a master class in goal. Like he really made some important saves and
Yep, he did.
gave
That's how they
Gladbach.
stayed in the game.
Yeah,
Yep.
and from what I saw basically was that Hamburg, as you said, they did not create many clear-cut chances, but they won most of the duels. They won most of the turnovers. They were the more proactive side, and you could have maybe argued that, as we said, it goes in line with what we said that Moritz had to make a lot of saves, and probably Hamburg should have won this game because they were really more threatening. But again, you don't score, simple logic, you miss the easier chances, you
You
regret
stay
it.
in the
And
relegation battle.
exactly, and again, in a close relegation battle, you can't afford that, just simple as that. And just one last thing on Gladbach, I mean, we spoke in the same wavelength for Wolfsburg as well. Like these two clubs have fallen off big time, yeah. Like you
Yep.
expect, like, for me, the Gladbach downfall, you always know what I said, started the moment this guy decided to halfway make his decision of joining Dortmund those many
Marcus
years ago.
Rose.
Yeah, Rosa, sorry. The players were disinterested. There was no
Yeah.
project, and everything went wrong. And
Abel
just
also went after that to Leipzig.
Abel, and yeah, the club has not been same since, bro. Like that, like
And they are one of the actual OG German clubs.
OGs, exactly. And you look at the atmosphere every time in any of their home. Like, look, Bundesliga atmosphere is always great. I know that. Like, right down to the lower divisions, I also watch it, but Gladbach really, as you said, one of the OGs, and they really encapsulate one of the older, traditions of German football. It's insane that like they fall into this length. And again, as you said, like just like Wolfsburg, it doesn't surprise me anymore if they lose, if they drop points unnecessarily. It's not surprising. It's not at all surprising. Like it's just what you expect. Like Abhi, next weekend, if I'm not wrong, they'll be playing these guys, na Stuttgart, if I'm not wrong. Hey, I'm prepared. Stuttgart ke against, so I don't think they'll pick up. I
No,
know it's
yeah,
at
the
home.
Stuttgart has been in some form,
Yeah, I know. I
and
understand they dropped
but the
points.
only positive is that's a home game for them.
Yeah, but still, will you be surprised if they lose?
No,
No,
no, I won't
because
be. I won't be. Absolutely, given the
exactly. So
Stuttgart form.
I know, unfortunate. And one last thing, like I'm sitting here as an Interista. Like I remember, like we have some history with Gladbach. Like again, we played them when Conte coached us, and they knocked. They gave us a hard. Obviously, Conte not being a specialist in the Champions League, we struggled against Gladbach. That's obvious, but. I remember they beat us to the next round ka qualification that season. We were really bad because Conte is Conte. But even back from the 60s and 70s, we have history with them. Very, very heated games in the Champions League. There's a very big story about them. Maybe some other day I can tell you the story because it's a very interesting or unique story. Fierce Champions League clash back in the day we had with them. So, like it's crazy to see how much they've fallen as a club, basically.
Yep. No, our own. So I considered Jupp Heynckes a club legend. So he was a legend for
Yeah.
them as well as a player.
Yes, I remember. You Pankes, I'm a
So
big fan of you Pankes here.
yeah.
Big.
So it. I mean, yeah. And they have been our bogey team as well, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
Bogey.
it's sad to see when such a huge club fall off from the greatness and
Yeah.
doesn't look like any comeback for them.
Yeah, coming from the
So
Serie A side of things, we see that with Fiorentina these days. Like
yeah,
they
right.
won today, but they're sitting 18th in the Serie A, which is insane. That's a relegation zone practically. So
Yep.
yeah,
So
so
quickly moving to our next game, Cologne versus Mainz. It was a relegation battle again. Mainz, I thought they have been. I said them like a week or so back that Mainz have their ticket cut for the relegation. But since then they have been playing really well. And
hmm,
yesterday also they took the lead first, but
hmm.
then Cologne kept on banging, and Arche scored two headers, one with
Yeah,
the death, and that I think that nearly secures the next year's league for Cologne. Maybe 20 points. I think they might be kind of secured, not
yeah.
fully, but
Hmm.
but Mainz stay at 19th now, and they are in that big trouble for that relegation.
Yeah, and as you said, Ragnar Ache, he really kind of he was very clinical with the chances he got. Like again, I didn't watch the whole of this game because it was clashing with some other games I was watching. But if I'm not wrong, he has like 3 goals and 3 assists, something like that. But like for the bottom half, the way he showed up yesterday off the bench, very very clinical, and as you said, like Mainz, yeah, I think I did enjoy what I saw from them. I'll be very honest with you. I was not a big fan of what I saw
No,
from
no,
Mainz.
they have been troubling off since that Bo Svensson season where they were like punching
Yeah,
over their weight. And
yeah,
on one side they are playing Europe, on second side they are in the relegation
insane. Exactly,
battle.
and it shows you like maybe like that one side of the Bundesliga where like if an unexpected team kind of qualifies on whatever through hard work and all, it's a bit too much for them to manage. Like you see the heavyweights, they know you guys can manage like Bayern, Dortmund, Leip. I don't know call Leipzig a heavyweight, but you get my point. Like a modern day heavyweight,
Yep, 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 yep.
these clubs can manage. But if someone like a Mainz also qualifies for the Conference League, like they have, and they beat Samsonspor, I think their last win was only against Samsonspor. They've not won since.
Yep, yep, yep. And no, they have been, I think, doing decently in the
Yeah,
conference league. I think they are
Conference League.
in the race for next round.
Yeah. So it's insane to see. Like again, like I'm Bo Svensson post that. Yeah, I mean, again I read about this game more, and I mean it doesn't like I kind of expected Cologne to win because Cologne are not even that bad. Like they're actually a pretty decent side, I would say. Like I really kind of like how this guy Kwasniok's kind of sets up, and I think Cologne have been okayish overall this season. I don't think they're threatened by relegation. So yeah, I'm not surprised these guys lost here. Like.
I just checked the table of conference league. They are seventh right now in the conference league.
I miss. And then again, just one thing, it's crazy to see because Urs Fischer is not a bad coach. Again, Urs
Yeah.
Fischer, the amount of research he does, he's a very methodical person, right? The way he studies the game,
Yep, yep,
like
yep.
every detail he studies, it's crazy that they're where they are. So let's see. But yeah, it doesn't look good for them.
Yep, doesn't look good for them. So now moving to our next game, Stuttgart versus Union Berlin.
Oh yeah,
Our ex-academy lad, Jeong, you know how much I used to love him. He
yeah, yeah.
again
Same.
he again saved the game for these guys. He again saved the game. So
Yeah,
he equalized at 83rd minute, and
yeah.
Stuttgart were left, fumbling. They were kind of controlling the game. That goal came out of nowhere, and
Hmm.
then Union for last 7-8 minutes they attacked like anything. So
Yeah.
Stuttgart nearly, saved them a point. I mean, that point they could have been losing that point, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. Like I feel Stuttgart. Yeah, I mean Woo-Yeong is a big like kind of in the Bundesliga sense he's a what if because I always felt he had more potential, and even I was a fan of the player, and unfortunately the career has not gone as
As
panned out. But
expected.
he's still 26. Hopefully he will do something better. But yeah, coming to this game, I was watching this game a while back. I caught a bit of it, and Undav was okay. Like, I mean, I don't think he was great or anything, Dennis
Yep,
Undav, but I
yep,
think
yep.
he was doing some decent things in there. And uh, like even Maximilian Mittelstadt was trying to make things happen from the left. But as you said, like it was not the most comfortable of nights for Stuttgart. Like it because given where they are, Stuttgart, like I think they're having an all right. Like by their standards, I think they're having actually a good season. I mean, Seb Hones, I feel he's made a reputation for himself, and I'm glad he's still there. I hope he stays as well for a bit because I have this like I've always kind of liked whenever they do well. I've kind of always enjoyed when Stuttgart do well, and you saw how exciting they were over this last year or so, like with Angelo Stiller, whatnot. So and this draw came out of the blue. Like I didn't
They should
I
have
thought
been. They were favorites to win the game, to be honest.
exactly. I legit thought they would win, but then in typical kind of Seb Hones fashion, like you have such a extreme style of playing that at times it gets to you, and
By the
unfortunate because
way, just you reminded me of one point. There is a new report that has broken yesterday that Seb
which is
Hoynes, he just has a 5 to 6 million release clause for the clubs outside Bundesliga.
yeah, game over, game over, game over. He's leaving, he's leaving, he's leaving.
So I mean, that's the issue, right? So they mean he could be like because he has done pretty well. He started with our second
Exactly.
team. He made them win three dot Liga, so we were
Yeah.
champions there. And from there, he went to Hoffenheim, then to Stuttgart. Where Stuttgart, he has an absolutely brilliant. To be honest, he has been
Yeah,
great
yeah.
for
See, we know that Stuttgart, when they returned to the top flight, they were not that like immediate. Obviously, it's never too easy to be good immediately, but Seb Hunes put them back on the map in that top half. Like
correct,
without,
correct, correct to
we would
make them
have never. And
constant
again,
force.
exactly. And in this game, I will say one thing. I think both teams can look and say, we could have won this game.
Yep,
Because
yep,
both
yep, yep.
had the chances to do that. Uh, Although obviously on paper you think Stuttgart is probably was better position to win the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, good game to watch again. I enjoyed this game from the most. I watched most of it. I missed like some part of it, but I watched most of it. In the last part I read about, I enjoyed it personally.
And before we move to the game of the match day, let's talk about Freiburg versus Augsburg. Man,
Uh,
Augsburg, they create chances, they
this I'll
score
leave to
goal.
you. This I'll leave to you because I'm yet to kind of catch up on this game.
I
I've
was
not watched.
watching the game just before we got started on this.
Uh,
So the first half was very snooze fest. Nothing happened. It was very boring. Boring. There was a break as well because of the weather of the
hmm.
pyros and all the stuff. So
Yeah,
there,
I heard about that. Yeah,
so that has been going on in the league. And
yeah.
then in the second half, Augsburg came all out.
Hmm.
Maurice scored with a deflected goal which went in. And then straight after second minute, Alves scored a brilliant header. And it was like, okay, finally Augsburg might have the 3 points. But
Hmm.
then again, the same thing. They fumbled under the pressure. And Suzuki, who is on loan to Union, oh sorry, to
Huh.
Freiburg, he
Huh.
scored a 2-1 goal. And right after that, Matanovic scored the equalizer, and then Augsburg were battling for life. They
Wow.
somehow escaped with 1 point. I mean, that could have again ended up in a loss, and that's why our Bavarian neighbors. That's where they are in the league right now. So they
Hmm.
have been struggling like anything, and to see off the games, I would say.
Hmm.
And that's why they sit at 15th position on 16 points, just see above the relegation. So that sums up the story for them.
Definitely will catch up on the highlights and the report because yeah, sounds like another interesting draw. I think yeah, definitely have to catch up on that game because I missed that. I was watching a bit of Serie A as well, so yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. No, no. So now coming to the game of the match day 18,
Hmm.
Leipzig versus Bayern. So it was a cracker, to be honest. And the way Leipzig started, it could have been 2-0 and 3-0 in first half itself, and they
Yeah.
would have killed the game. I
Hmm.
mean, we were lucky to come out
Hmm.
like just a one goal down.
Hmm.
No, Diomande, man, what a player he is, what a talent,
Yeah.
man.
Exactly.
We know, right, how good Eto is, how good he is defensively.
Hmm.
uh, he ran riot against him. He was running circles around on the left wing. There we
Hmm.
didn't have any response to them, especially with our favorite Leon Goretzka playing in the midfield. He was not offering much to cover him as well. But Nusa had two big chances to score early in the game,
Hmm.
but they fumbled it. Then Romelu scored,
Yeah.
and so we escaped. We escaped the first half.
Hmm.
And so what do you think of the game?
I obviously watched this game, and I think the first game also in the season you all thrashed them, right? If I'm
Yep,
not
yep,
wrong,
yep, yep, yep.
6-0, and so the aggregate is 11-1, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, as you said, Leipzig could have caused you more problems because Ole Werner's team were they started really well. To be fair to them, they started
No,
and
no, no, they were brilliant yesterday. They
yeah,
were
they were
brilliant.
brilliant. And once again, against the simple philosophy here is you can't kind of fumble your chances against Bayern Munich. It's as simple as that. Because while obviously we've discussed, you being a Bayern fan, we've discussed how much like obviously Bayern are better, I would say, than last season. But obviously there's a lot of work to be done. But we know that once you give a team like Bayern Munich a chance to kind of get back in the game, you will pay for that, and that's what they did, right? Like we saw they Leipzig were fighting their they were trying, they were defending everything end to end, tha, but end mein then as you said, George, so like overall, you guys woke up like you were impressed with someone like a Jonathan Tah. Like how big a critic I am of Jonathan Tah. I'm not like even a
Even I
fan
was
of.
the same, especially when he
Yeah,
used to play. He always had a mistake in him. But this season he has been flawless, man. I have to give him the
yeah,
laurels. To be honest, he
yeah,
has been great. He has been great.
yeah.
So
And
he
once, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
no.
I was just saying that that first half was mainly them, like even like as you said, Romulo and Antonio Nusa in this makeshift role on the right, like this wing back almost role. Everything was going fine, and then obviously our second half started, and we saw obviously you guys turned up in a on a different level, which is not surprising because that's what you expect of Bayern Munich, and you guys obviously made them pay chance after that. Like, and as you said, I think after the game, you said right that it was a bit harsh on Leipzig. But is it surprising? No. Like Gnabry, I think it's surprising that Gnabry took his chance. Probably that's surprising. But then after that, Kane scores. Nothing surprising there. You
That
can,
talking about the first game, that came out of a mistake from Baumgartner, right?
yeah,
Upamecano pressed him. He could not control the ball. Upamecano won the challenge. He passes straight to Gnabry, and Gnabry finished it brilliantly on the near post of
hmm,
Gulashi. So I
yeah,
mean, and from there after that as well, Diamonde had a chance
yeah.
to take the lead 2-1. That was the
I think,
only chance they
yeah,
had.
Romulo also had the chance, right? Like when Neuer made the save,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I feel when Olise came on, the game completely turned. Like when once he came
Alicia, I
on,
was about to talk to him. So,
yeah,
one cheeky question for you. Do you think Olise is the best game changer in the world right now?
game changer.
You being a France fan, what do you think?
Yeah, like obviously I enjoy watching Olise. I mean, look, I'll be very honest. Like as a supporter of a club that does not have a player who can beat his man, it's always good to have watch players like Olise who can beat their man with such ease on the pitch. But yeah, Olise has to be I best on the spot. You've put me on the spot, so that's a bit tough to say. But I would say easily one of the best. Like because I watch difference maker wise. There's so many players I can. You can look at someone like Kenan Yildiz saving Juventus left, right, center. Like just be and obviously Yildiz.
Yeah, he's
Your
from our academy.
like, exactly. You never know. You might like if he doesn't sign an extension at UA, you never know. You guys might. There have been links with Bayern, so you never know. But
Yeah.
point being, yeah, he has to be one of the best difference makers. Like I know many people, like these days, unfortunately, social media is a very toxic thing, and many people make fun of his personality, which is a bit shy and whatnot. But the way he plays on the pitch is what matters. Like at the end of the day, and he's absolutely insane. I'm glad he's French. He represents France because yeah, he has to be one of the best world's best difference makers for sure. Like the
Like
best
it was
have to.
there was stat yesterday. He came on 57th minute. He
Yeah,
gave 3 assists within 10 minutes,
exactly.
and that's where we killed the game.
Yeah.
And Harry Kane, man, what are your thoughts on him?
There is nothing left to say because with Harry Kane it is quite simple. I've always said this. Like you know that I'm not a big fan of like when it comes to support like kind of rooting for English clubs. I will never root for English clubs. It's very hard for me to like an English player also. But Harry Kane has been one of those few players like someone like a Declan Rice I've kind of respected and liked because they've genuinely kind of worked their way up properly and kind of put in that work ethic, especially Harry Kane. Like I always appreciated his commitment to Tottenham as well. Again, Tottenham is a club that you easily troll, anybody can troll and whatnot. But he stayed and he left in the best way possible in my opinion because he was like, Chalo, finally I want a challenge, I want to move. I've shown enough respect to the club I love, whatever. And that I appreciated always. And I'm glad he finally won a trophy. Like he deserved it more than anyone. It's like people always made fun of him. You know this. Yeah, the guy can't do anything. He's bad. He's bad luck, bad omen, whatever. But we all know he's world class. There is no doubt about it. The way he plays, like we've seen it, the way he drops deep, almost in that defensive midfield role, controlling the game with his back to goal, his IQ, like the way his close control is what I like the most. How he easily, comfortably he
He
retains the
beats the
ball.
press.
Exactly, and that's a player. These kind of players I always appreciate because at Inter we have Lautaro Martinez who does exactly like that, and I like these kind of players that play for the team first. Like I'm
Yeah.
very old school in that sense, and players who kind of put the team first, the club first, they always they're always a major asset. And we know that when Kane came to Bayern first, even Muller helped him a lot and whatnot, and Muller was a big fan as well. So when you impress someone like a Muller, then you have obviously done the right thing. So my point being, you I mean, there are no words left to say. I mean, I don't think my words will describe how great a player he is. I mean, I hope at come season end he gets the plaudits he deserves, because he will probably never, like, usually English players, you know that they get hyped very easily, right? Like, it's very easy. But Harry Kane unfortunately finds himself in that position where he's disrespected very easily instead of hyped. It's very easy to hype fancy players that do flashy things in 1 or 2 games, but players that are maybe not so flashy to the eye, people just somehow don't appreciate them. So
No,
it's
I
just
mean, absolutely. You described him perfectly, to be honest. I have
that's a
realized.
sad reality that people like him don't get appreciated enough, basically. And that's
Yeah.
where I relate with you as a Bayern fan, because like the way people talk about Harry Kane, like the way he doesn't get respect, the same way Lautaro Martinez does not get respect. Like, these are the kind of players that will work their ass off but will not get the respect they deserve, unfortunately. So
Yep,
yeah.
yep, yep. That's the thing. And
And
finally,
game wise, just my last thoughts before you close this. Like, again, once Olise came on, it was all over. Like, Ta, as you said, was fantastic defensively. He scored a goal, and to praise Ta is very unexpected from me. Like, you know how big a critic
even
I am.
from me, you know that.
Exactly, and then I mean, once that was done, you saw they were out of it. Like, Orban was not in it. Nobody was in
They
it.
were
Like,
actually waiting for game to end, and I was
exactly,
looking at the XG. It was 3 XG versus 3.13 XG. The
yeah,
difference 5-1.
5-1.
So
And again, look, Alexander Pavlovich. Like, again, you guys have some great talents on your hand. It's a shame. I know the recent irritating point is what Lennart Kahl said and whatnot, but I feel the best way to go about all this is just take it game by game. And I
yeah,
guess Bayern have the tools. If somebody wants to leave, it's okay. You can leave. We'll replace you. Like, you guys eventually replaced whatever. Cruz left. He left. You guys found. You guys did your thing. So I feel Bayern have those tools. So even if Lennart Kahl goes, you guys don't need to worry. I mean, I'm sure you guys will find someone. I think Leipzig, the only positive spark here was Antonio Nusa. I really like the player. He was very strongly linked with Napoli. And if Inter played wingers, I would want him right now. But we don't play wingers, so unfortunate. But funnily enough, he can play as a wing back. It seems so. Never know. Fingers crossed. Maybe
no, I
sometime.
mean, so that is where I was pissed. I was about to say earlier, right? So on the DM one day, their
Yeah,
sporting director comes out and says after the game, I know he's a very well-liked player all over the Europe. We have to make our profits. We have to make
yeah,
our margins. So we'll see when to sell and whom to sell. I mean, what nonsense is that, man? You literally exploited 50+1. You
yeah.
found a loophole in that. You played around it, and you still are looking for margin and stuff. You could have built a club, a huge European club, with the money you guys have, but still
Mhm.
you are not doing anything. You are just promoting that nonsense, sporting drinks and all that stuff. So it really pisses me off when you have found a loophole and still you come up with such
Yeah,
statements.
that's insane. That's insane. Yeah, that's Leipzig for you. Yeah, that's Leipzig for you. There's no words. Like, even with
So,
the loophole.
so before we close out,
Yeah,
Jamal Musiala made a comeback. I would like
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. Correct, correct, correct. Musiala came back. Look, again, Musiala is one of those players I've enjoyed watching. Like, I think recently the guys at Bleacher Report got to interview him. One of the creators called Lies Bouzidi, and he upfront told him, like, you are right now, you're my favorite player to watch in the world because of how you play your game. Very natural in between the lines. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? Right? Like, it's always good to see someone like Musiala return, because you know how much of an asset he is. Uh, Again, what a difference maker. I feel with age, he will definitely gain more maturity. Sometimes you do see those weird moments from him where, at times I feel, at least I personally feel, it tends to kind of hold on to the
Overload
ball.
dribbling.
Ha, exactly. But again, it's a very small thing I'm saying, because in the grand scheme of things, he's already very good. And
He's
I,
brilliant. I mean, that's the
yeah,
only the final pass is the only thing missing from his game. Once he
exactly.
acquires that, he would
Yeah.
be probably the worst
And
best player.
exactly, and he's still, look. We need to remember he's still young. Like, it's not like
Yeah, he's
he's
just still 21, 22.
30. Exactly, it's not like he's 25. It's not like he's 30. These are young players that will learn. With you guys, the only hope is these players obviously stay on the right path mentally and in terms of their devotion to the club, because in the past, unfortunately for you guys, we've seen Bayern kind of go off track. These players go off track with their kind of dedication to Bayern, obviously with the high wages and whatnot. So I hope you guys can retain these players because it's a special bunch. And look, was I the biggest Vincent Kompany fan? Again, no, but he's learned from last season. I will give him that. He
Yep,
is
yep,
learning,
yep, yep. He has
and
learned
you
from.
always have to give that room because this is the new क्या बोलते हैं, this is the new bunch of, or the new era, or kind of the new wave of coaches, right? Like Kivu Company. I'm not comparing Kivu Company, I'm just giving names, right? Like all these young coaches. I hate Deserby, but I guess I have to put his name there as well. I do not like Deserby, but you get the point, right? Like new wave of coaches, new era of coaches. And kudos to Company. I know you had your complaints, so he did not play youngsters last season enough, but that's slowly all these things these guys are learning on the job. Credit to the guy. I mean, he's learning and he's
Yep,
really trying to implement. Maybe he still needs to have a plan B at Bayern, but he's learning. Again, he's learning, and I feel at this point you might as well look to build a future with him, because you, once these guys stay for a few years, you want to keep the same guys.
correct, correct. The same
You want
bunch.
to, these guys will learn, these guys
The
will grow, and
automations, all those comes up, and it's easy to play
exactly.
around with those folks.
Exactly. So, look, I was not surprised you guys destroyed Leipzig, because this is your title. I'm not one of those guys saying, "Arey, हाँ, Bundesliga खत्म हो गया था." I don't like doing all that, like halfway through the season, because I personally watch the league myself, and I'm not like, "अरे हाँ, ये league देखना ही क्यों है? It's already." I'm not that kind of a guy, but this is your title to lose. You have a 11-point lead. I know as a fan you'll always be stressed, because that's typical of a fan. But I think 11 points. I think this is your title to lose. Yeah, there is no two ways about it. That's
Yep,
just me saying it because you guys have been very dominant. Basically, that's all. And
yep, yep.
obviously you have the Pokal. Mein also you guys play Leipzig, right? So they might
That
not be very
that's a
happy.
that's a big headache game now after a 11-1 streak. I mean, the aggregate against them, we have to play them in a big knockout quarterfinals on February
Yeah,
3rd, I
they'll
believe. So,
obviously they won't be happy about it either. To be fair.
thankfully, the only point is that's home game for us. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's a huge game for us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Param, for joining us. Would like to have you more and more of the more like people like Chintan or Ajay Bhai on the Total Football. We'll plan something again.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Because I mean, they also watch the Bundesliga, the rest of the panel, and they're big fans. I think Chintan Bhai also has a soft spot for Bayern, if I'm not wrong. Ajay Bhai, I don't know. That's a good question. I need to see which good German club he likes. But Chintan, I'm pretty sure he's inclined towards Bayern as well. And yeah, I mean, glad to know, because again, we have always said this, like, not just German football. Like when it comes to a club like Bayern, we are shocked that there is not enough spoken about it in India, and there should more needs to be done. And I'm sure we'll be talking about, whenever if a German club faces or whatnot Italian team, we'll
yep,
do
yep,
something.
we'll have us
There's a
again.
lot to talk about. There's a lot of crossovers between German and Italian football. So definitely glad that you got us on here. Thanks for having us on.
Yep, yep. Thank you, Param. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
then on to the Champions League week we go. We'll see how the German teams and Italian teams fare, and we'll discuss about that. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck, Param. Thank you.
Thank you.